Bet with your friends on WynnBET Sportsbook today using promo code BlueWire to get up to $1,000 toward a risk-free sports bet. Sign up now at WYNNBet.com. Offer subject to change, terms and conditions at WynnBET.com. Must be 21 or older and present in the state where playthrough WynnBET is available. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
DirecTV Stream brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can get all the entertainment you love without the hassle. And there's no annual contract. Get your TV together at DirecTV.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package.
Hi folks, welcome to another episode of Film Study. This is Ken McCusick. We're continuing on with these 25 years podcasts, which these have been just a pleasure to do. I've had 3 or 4 of these now. This is the 4th today. And every one of these has been a fun discussion about something memorable from Ravens history. Not always good, although this one is. Joining me today, Eric Clark. Eric really had a tough assignment last time talking about the running backs for the 2021 Ravens. Now he gets a little bit easier job talking about the career of Jermaine Lewis. Eric, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fine, Ken. It's always a pleasure to talk football with you, especially Ravens football. So I just can't wait to get into the topic today. It's been great listening to all these historic podcasts. Like you said, they have been fun, reflecting on everybody's bond with such a special franchise. So
it's been very cool, that's for sure. But take us into this topic how you would like, Eric. And Jermaine Lewis drafted by the Ravens in 1996 in the 5th round. I'll start with only that. You take us where you want to go from there.
Yeah, so I just came across it, as you said, as looking into the 25 years of the Ravens. Of course, we have the big Hall of Famers, Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Jonathan Ogden, and you said, let's find some small niches, maybe the forgotten people, or maybe the ones that we hold dear to our hearts that maybe only Ravens fans know, maybe not the rest of the football league, for football fans know. So that's what got me situated on Jermaine Lewis, because his story is fascinating. How he basically got started, in my opinion. I don't know it for a fact, but you read up into it and how the Ravens came on to Jermaine Lewis in 1996. It was kind of like, it felt like he was the glue to get Marylanders behind the Ravens, being a University of Maryland guy, and try to build up interest into it being that explosive weapon. And in such a time where we were looking to build interest, being a new team. So that's what drew me to looking into it even more. So
didn't hurt. Certainly, he was a Maryland guy. It didn't hurt that he was good either, and started making an impact right away in 1996, and obviously made a bigger impact through the Super Bowl year. Let's kind of walk through chronologically if you like, but if you just want to talk about individual memories you have of Jermaine Lewis, or kind of what you saw out of his growth in his time there, what would you like to talk about?
Oh, yeah. So I guess I'll go in reverse chronological order. With me being born in 93, so 96, I'm only 3. I've left football watching with my dad, rest in peace, Dad. But 2000 was my first Super Bowl, watching him make that memorable return. So that was my big memory on what he could do for the Ravens. And then after that, being a football lover that I am, I kind of just dug deep into it and see what, besides that memory that I always see when we watch Ravens highlights of the first Super Bowl, made him so special. What made him classified as maybe the most dangerous person in the NFL at the time, especially the returner, and how we forgot about how good of a receiver he was and how he made those plays. So I went from 2000, of course, the memorable return in the Super Bowl where he points up to the sky. Mm-hmm. As he crosses the goal line. So then I dig deeper into that and go into the Jets game, where he had those 2 return touchdowns after recent news of his stillborn son, and how it felt like the whole city was around him, how his energy just exuded and through every return that he did that year. And then that's when I was building so what got him to that peak? And I look back, 97, 98, and 2000 were maybe some of the best years of returner outside of Devin Hester and Dante Hall that the league has ever seen.
Yeah, I think that'd be fair. His 97 and 98 seasons, I think a lot of people have forgotten just how dangerous a receiver he was. Mm-hmm. think about how difficult it is for any Ravens receiver to pile up these kind of numbers today, but he had 42 catches for 648 yards in 1997. The big number I always like to put out there, yards per target, 9.3 yards per target in 1997, which is excellent, would be near the franchise records. In 1998, he set the record for a Ravens wide receiver with 10.3 yards per target. And not a trivial number of targets, 76 targets for 784 yards. So he was a big play threat all that year. And I remember it was a combination of special teams long plays and long touchdown passes that he caught in 1998 in particular.
Yeah, and that's what basically got him the respect of the not just Ravens fans and Ravens coaches, but definitely the rest of the league. I believe he was a Pro Bowl and first team All-Pro in 1998 with his combination of special teams and wide receiver, which that everybody just had to realize just what we had in Baltimore. Which was funny. I was trying to look into what happened in '99. I think '99. I don't know if he just went mostly to returns or anything like that. I think that was his highest year of returns, but it just wasn't as explosive. And he had a rebound year in 2000. I just was trying to look at what happened in '99. Didn't see anything about injury or anything like that. I just think it just maybe at the Pro Bowl season, people started focus on him and he felt the pressure. But from what I see, I know maybe you can speak more on that. But
I'm not sure that I can, even as a receiver or as a player. But he had his yards per return were not terrible on punts, but it wasn't up to his own standards for that 5-year period. That's the middle years of the sandwich. And as a receiver, he had a terrible year. He only caught 43% of the balls that were thrown his way, and his yards per target dropped from 10.3 to 4.8.
Yeah, it just feels like it just was that pressure that we sometimes see from players that have those breakout years. And that's part of the player. We're not even talking personal. That's part of the player that makes it fascinating about how he rebounded in 2000. We don't know anything that happened in 99, but just looking at a football perspective, it's just like great start in 96, breakout in 97. Like I said, 2 Seattle returns, 98 consistently for steps up again, first team.
Excellent.
Pro Bowl wide receiver. 99 falls off a cliff, maybe feels the pressure. 2000 deals with personal things off the field, but then still is that explosive weapon that we saw 2 years prior in 98, where 2000 we had the historic Ravens defense. And the reason that I tied it all together, because when the defense makes those big stops and intimidates the offense, the other part that was scary about the 2000 team, that you were kicking it to this guy. So after we got off the field, it wasn't just like that person back there was just going to catch the ball and they were going to play ball security. That was going to be the explosive weapon that was going to try to put points on the board, to put the ball control, run first. Jamal Lewis led offense closer and better field position, where defenses and other teams and special teams coaches had to worry about, do we want to kick it to this guy? Do we want to make that slow offense work harder? So I think that's what put people in unique situations that year that led to such a special year that, of course, ended up in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's obviously that 2000 year was really special. The yards per punt return at a historic level at 16.1. But I want to echo what you said about him being that dangerous player. The only punt returner, there's only one punt returner in Ravens history who's been any more thought of as being dangerous than and that's Ed Reed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You put Ed Reed back there, and there was always a chance that something big would happen. And other teams, would, even though what he became was Baltimore's designated fair catch player. Mm-hmm. That's really what he was. I think, and it's you have players that do that. You just want to be securely protect the football. You don't want to take a chance on a fumble. You want a safe collection of the football. Ed Reed's your guy, but he did return that one against Cincinnati on Monday night. That was a thing of beauty.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just weird, like you said, no more dangerous guy than Ed Reed that can rank up there with Jermaine Lewis in classic punt returns. And then, like when I was listening to some other of your podcasts, how we tie together with Ravens great teams that maybe should have been there. It's weird how you can kind of make a weird relationship between us having at least a returner that was considered elite, even like with the 05 team that was such a heartbreak. But We had BJ Sams during that year, 05 to 07.
Yeah.
And then in 2012, Jacoby Jones. It's like when you think of culture, you don't know how we always say play like a Raven. And now we have a head coach who specializes in special teams. It's just weird how you can think about those great teams that maybe have special places in our heart where a returner is in it. Now, that's why I said Jermaine Lewis maybe kicked that off with such a quote unquote young franchise, being only 25 years old, that our first Super Bowl came pretty much on defense and special teams.
Yeah, absolutely. They won those two phases, and in particular, the game at Tennessee, of course, they won on special teams, which we don't have to go into that specifically. We're getting too tangential, but now I forgot the point I was going to make. This happens from time to time when you get old, by the way, Eric, so you have to look forward to, and also go to the bathroom more. So that's something else to look forward to. But the other options are not great either, so I wanted to make that point. Jermaine Lewis, there are two plays in specific that I really want to get to about Jermaine that were really special. Number one is in 2000, a lot of people don't remember, he was still a starting receiver at the beginning of the season. And in that second game of the year with Tony Banks at quarterback, he caught the touchdown that put the Ravens ahead, not for good, but it put them ahead 29-26 after they'd been down the entire game. And he just a nice little easy corner route. I don't even know what you call it. It's not really a fade because it was thrown on a line, but it was a short pass. Maybe you remember it. Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. We were doing let's say deep research on. I believe, like you said, it was like a short fade. I don't. In Madden, they just call it like the little circle. They call it a corner, if you want to call it that for other Madden players out there. Or deep people in the field probably call it a short fade, like you said. I definitely remember that play, looking through everything.
Yeah. And that football game, even when taking the lead right there at 29-26, there was so much football left to be played in those last 10 minutes that make a story unto itself. We're in fact going to do a 2000 Jacksonville pod, so I want to make sure we save that for that.
Oh yeah, definitely save that for that. Oh yeah, that's. Just going back to this history. Go ahead, Ken. I'm sorry.
If you have another play from that's really special to you about Jermaine, I don't want to monopolize the call, but do you have a play that is the play from him, other than the Super Bowl, which obviously I think is
other than the Super Bowl? Like I said, I had to go back and I really wanted to look into any type of video I had of 97. They're like those first two. So at home, first point return. Mm-hmm. You just could see the shiftiness and what he could be, and to me, that when I looked at it, I could see why. I'm trying to find the words here. It was weird looking at it because it is.
When it comes to hiring, there is no shame in needing an assist to score. Indeed has helped businesses stay competitive with their hiring, and they can do it for you too. Get started right now with $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/BlueWire. Indeed is a hiring partner that gets you what you really want, a short list of quality candidates as fast as possible, because you can do it all. Attract, interview, and hire all at Indeed. Get a $75 credit. You heard me. At Indeed.com/BlueWire. One of the things I love about Indeed is that it makes hiring all in one place so easy. Whenever I was looking for a job, Indeed was the very first place I go. Indeed.com/BlueWire. Offer valid through December 31st. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Slow is just right if you're on vacation, a sloth, or describing QuickBooks. More like slow books. It sucks you in and slows you down with manual processes, integration difficulties, and glitchy delays that leave you scrambling for the numbers you need. Now is the time to make the switch to NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 financial system, because NetSuite gives you visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, e-commerce, and more. It's everything you need to grow, all in one place. With NetSuite, you can automate your processes and close your books in no time, no matter how big your business grows. Failing to switch to NetSuite will leave you stuck trying to make sense of your books while your competitors sprint ahead. 93% of surveyed businesses increased visibility and control since switching to NetSuite. And right now, special financing is back. NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind financial program only for those ready to switch today. Head to netsuite.com/Blue Wire right now. Get special financing at netsuite.com/Blue Wire. One more time, netsuite.com/Blue Wire.
The game breaker that he was going to become was quite evident that game and then that year. He makes 5 people miss because he comes right up the middle. He catches the ball, shifts right, and then cuts back left, goes up the middle, cuts back right, and then goes back up the middle for about 40 yards in the Seattle game and the first kick return. And then the second punt return, in that game is almost reminiscent of the Super Bowl one. That's why it was so funny that watching Seattle one night home in '97. Goes left, stops, breaks the tackle, comes back right, breaks it up through the middle, tiptoes down the right sideline, and breaks it down for that. So that's why I was just so when I go back and look at it and how shifty he was, and how if you look at his first 2, how they're reminiscent of some of the big plays that we saw in the 2000 year, and how if you just go back and respect the player and playmaker that he was, you can see his impact on that.
Now, there's a play I've been trying to find for a while that I can't seem to find, but it was a preseason return, and it might have been 97 yards. Mm-hmm. But it was one of these ones where he probably should have let the punt go, not even tried to fair catch it for the chance of it going in the end zone and picking up yardage. Instead, fielded it and scored from that point. I remember Billick saying it was Billick, so it had to be 99 or later, I guess, that it happened. Talking about how exciting that play had been. But it's something that I wish I could find the actual time for it. But I believe it to be a preseason play.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, because like I said, when I had to go back and look into this and how he became so important. And I believe, I'm trying to see that preseason game. I want to definitely go back and find that for you. I'm definitely going to message you on Twitter under this link for this one, and I'm going to find that video for you, because I swear I was looking at all the videos for this one.
I've got the full set of videos here, including the preseason game, so I want to go back and look at it too, but I need to find it before I can go look at it on the video. The other play that is just a nice capper to his career, and it was a lousy day of football, I can tell you that. Up at Pittsburgh in that 2001 divisional game when they lost, they knew pretty much at that point that they were not going to be protecting either Jermaine Lewis or Jamie Sharper, both of whom were bigger contract guys who were going to be more expensive to keep, and that they were likely to be lost in expansion. Certainly, sure enough, both of them were. But Jermaine Lewis, in one of his last punt returns as a Raven, it might not have been the last, returned it for a touchdown against the Steelers to give the Ravens what little bit of hope they had on that miserable day.
No. Oh, yeah. I think it was like his third to last punt return, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think, if I counted it right, it was his third to last punt return. And yeah, like you said, that just goes to finish up that story, seeing how he couldn't be protected, such a big playmaker here in Ravens history. And that kind of, like you said, is the unhappy part about it. It just didn't continue for someone like Jermaine Lewis. That it was short-lived, but it's kind of what we had to deal with also here, and it was kind of weird that all our returners would have that short shelf life of exciting history, and a lot of people in that profession or in that position in the NFL don't really last long. But it is exciting when it does happen.
It's Jermaine Lewis was the only guy they've ever tried to pay in the position. Everybody else they've basically decided we can make do. We're a system team. We'll make good with the best young, fast receiver we can find. And they've tried to draft people late, like a Michael Campanaro and Derek Abney, and guys who were not much other than a return man. But they've never tried to pay a return man. And Devin Hester was the only time they. Maybe I'm not wrong about that. How about Jacoby Jones? They probably had to pay him a couple bucks.
Just a little bit. A little bit, because like I say, it was the closest one to Jermaine Lewis. Mostly a kick return as opposed to a punt return, because he's like that straight line speed. I guess you want to say Devin Duvernay is kind of like our trying to be a version of Jacoby Jones, but Jacoby Jones was, a good wide receiver 3 for Joe Flacco back in those days. Everybody remembers how miracle with Denver coming up. So, yeah, he had to get a little bit of money, Ken, just a little bit, to stick around for a little while. So.
I got to go back and look and see what his earnings were like. But they gave Devin Hester a vet min contract, if I can recall correctly. There might have been incentives. Yeah, there might have been incentives built in, but there was no way is he going to earn them kind of incentives.
Oh yeah, not 34-year-old Devin, legend. So
he wasn't much, but they've Kylan Clay and BJ Sams, all those other guys. They said, we can find a guy year after year who can do this role, and it's just not that significant anymore. And I think they're kind of coming around to that on the coverage unit as well, and deciding that covering kicks is not as important as it once was. The difference between getting a team at the 19-yard line and the 25-yard line on a kick may not be worth the injury risk and the other things that you could potentially get a small win in yardage on. And the other component is punt returns. I mean, with Sam Cook, he does all this directional, tricky punting. It doesn't really outkick his coverage as often, which means it's less likely for the coverage to really break down. And if he does outkick the coverage in the way he'll do it, he will line drive that kick past the guy, so he doesn't have a real opportunity to gather it up, and then he won't get a return on that. So Cook has really made it easier on the Ravens coverage teams, and I think in a lot of ways they don't need to have as juiced up a special teams unit. I know that's probably sacrilege to Harbaugh as they have in the past.
Exactly. Unless you're like the Raiders, who just have a young kicker who wants to show off his leg, then someone like 98 Jermaine Lewis would be valuable. But other than that, like you said, with special teams decreasing the value across the NFL, people like Hester and Jermaine Lewis, especially that we're talking about today, just aren't being, I guess, seen a lot. Last year, Trent Cannon, who was cut from our team, of course, we saw him show up in the 49ers game. But like I said, back on topic, it's just was a pleasure going back and looking at the short history of Jermaine Lewis here as a Baltimore Raven, and how that forgotten member of the 96 draft class could just be such a huge part of our history and, to me, culture, and how I fell in love with the Ravens as a 7-year-old. So. Yeah,
that's great the way you tell the story and make it personal. I really appreciate you coming on. This is, Jermaine Lewis, certainly one of my favorites way back in the day. I was still an adult at the time, sadly, 25 years ago.
Didn't mean to age you, Ken. Didn't mean to age you.
But I really appreciate you coming on and talking through Jermaine Lewis. I hope other people will do this, see what Eric has done and talk about your, what favorite of yours, if it's Kelly Gregg, if it's Corey Ivy, if it's, Jared Gaither was your favorite for some reason. Come on and tell us why, you liked him and what you saw that he could have been, or why he wasn't that, or why he was that. And we'd love to hear from you. Eric, thanks again for coming on. Tell people where they can catch you on Twitter or any other material, any other place where you talk football with people.
Yeah, that was a pleasure, Ken. Everyone, you can follow me at Greatness Calls. I said Twitter is the only way that I do social media. And if you look for a guy that has all Ravens posts, that is definitely my guy. Ken can definitely vouch for that. So, okay.
Eric, thanks again so much for coming on.
Yeah, always a pleasure, Ken. Thank you again for having me.
We'll talk to you next time on Film Study.
What's going on, everyone? I'm Claudia Bellafato, and he is
Joe Fan.
This is Bet to Win. We talk betting. We break down the lines. We have the traders come on each week. We have some experts come on to talk boxing, UFC. We talk football. We talk basketball, baseball. What else do we talk about, Joe?
We make fun of each other.
We make fun of each other.
We have a whole lot of fun doing it.
We do.
So come join us. Let's pick some winners, lament the losers, have a good time doing it. Make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. New episodes out every Monday and Thursday.
When you think of the last 20 years of the Browns, what's the saddest memory that first comes to mind?
The year we didn't win a game.
Josh Gordon, to be honest.
Being a punching bag for the Steelers.
The past 20 years.
I'm Andre Knott, and on my new podcast, Brownstown, we dive deep into 20 years of Cleveland Browns heartbreak. We talk to players, coaches, and journalists that saw it all firsthand. If you're a lifelong fan or just hopping on the bandwagon, this podcast is for you. Listen to Brownstown wherever you listen to podcasts.